It is very well known that playing video games is a common activity for young generations. There is, however, ongoing debate about the possible consequences of such pastime. Amongst public and professionals, some share a positive view on playing video games. They suggest how gaming can help kids learn how to socialize and build relationships, and also improve memory, focus, and decision-making. On the contrary, some see possible dangerous effects as negatives of encouraging children to do harmful things and behave violently, including reaching the point of bringing and using a gun in school. In this context, decision makers face a hard decision. They find themselves dealing with a possible threat, but also with a lack of strong proof of the real risks they may need to act upon. Should time or age limits be set for playing video games? Should restrictions be placed on the sale of video games? Is it better to act rather than face potential risks? Is there even a need for action at all? The sense of risk becomes even stronger when discussing violent video games and the risk of increasing aggressive behaviors in players. Are we leaving a box of matches in the hands of young people, ready to ignite potential threats for themselves and the broader society? Do we need to sound the fire alarm? What do we know so far? Existing research has found a small yet constant link between violent video games and increasing aggressive behavior. A possible reason? That spending time playing video games with violent scenes may fuel violent behavior, thoughts, and feelings in those who play. However, these results cause disagreements as well. For example, some say that violent video games attract people who are already aggressive, which is different from saying that the games cause violent behavior. Others highlight mistakes in how some studies are set up, pointing to how researchers seem to select specific results that confirm their starting ideas, called the hypothesis, instead of using all the data and facts they find, called the evidence. Given this background, University of Oxford collaborated with Cardiff University to conduct a new study. The aim of the study was clear: to provide stronger evidence for the issue, and in so doing, support decision makers in making choices based on results they can trust and can make the difference. This is the hypothesis they tested. The more time children play violent video games, the more aggressive they become, compared to children who don't play the same kind of video games. To test their hypothesis, they included over 1,000 children and adolescents in the United Kingdom. Children aged 4 to 17 years old came from many different backgrounds, with a mix of boys and girls, different levels of education, and various ways of living. Their parents or carers also took part in the study. Researchers asked children to list the names of the video games they played in the previous month and the time they spent playing each game. Their carers filled out a questionnaire to describe how much aggressive behavior they saw in their children during that time. It is interesting to consider how researchers planned their study so that it could be of high quality. They first checked past research to highlight its biggest weaknesses. Then they agreed on solutions to fix such limits, improving them in their work. Here are 3 key limits and solutions. First, different studies measured violence levels in video games in different ways, which may confuse results. Also, while the research was happening, some questions were chosen and others left out, with the risk of only paying attention to information that influenced results to confirm their hypotheses. In this new study, researchers chose questions to include and results to look for before the research started and not during or afterwards. Second, past studies asked children directly to judge the violence level of video games according to their feelings. Children also rated their own aggressive behavior. Because these answers were based on what children thought or felt, their score might be too high or too low. Researchers introduced 2 solutions to make the answers fairer and more trustworthy. The violence level was determined by using the Pan-European Game Information Rating, an external and well-known tool. Carers provided an assessment of children's aggressive behavior. Researchers chose the well-recognized Strengths and Difficulties questionnaire for this task. Finally, previous research didn't clearly say how big a number needed to be to show a real problem. This sometimes made the problem look bigger than it really was. Therefore, researchers established how to translate results more accurately in order to be more certain of their meaning and how they may affect children. Here is what the study uncovered. It is important to mention that the study confirmed that half of the girls and 2/3 of the boys play violent video games. If spending time on these games really leads to more aggressive behavior in children, it could mean that many children end up acting violently and hurting others in society. This is a risk for children themselves and for everyone in the community. This is why it is important to study and understand these better. First, researchers checked their hypothesis. They matched time spent playing violent video games, as described by children, with aggressive behavior, as per the responses of the carers. The results showed no meaningful connection between the two that could confirm the hypothesis as correct. Researchers then wanted to be sure of their results. They retested their hypothesis by looking at it from different angles. For example, they checked if there was a certain amount of playing time after which violent behavior began. Again, results indicated no connection. Or, did games with different violence rating or age restrictions change the results? They didn't. And how would the European rating system of violent video games compare to the American one? Would it change results? Even in this case, the answer was no. Finally, they took a very different perspective. Could playing video games increase positive behavior? All kinds of analysis brought the same results. The hypothesis was not confirmed. In summary, this study highlights how a more careful and stricter research setup brought researchers to different conclusions than in past studies. This research doesn't exclude that violent video games may play a part in increasing aggressive behavior. It concludes that there is no evidence of it being the only cause to the effect. There is still more work to do. This study has helped scientists learn how to improve future research on this important topic. It also opens opportunities to build on these results and address their limits. This study included self-reports, but involving gaming companies in designing research could provide more objective data, such as exact time spent playing and games features used. The research covered only 1 month. A longer study, following players over time, might give different insights. Studying specific groups of people, for example, different education level, economic status, or disabilities, could help refine the findings. To conclude, this research is a warning that just because something feels true at first, it needs careful checking before people make the decision to sound the fire alarm.